So I'm Hugh Edwards. I'm a solutions architect here at Gomo Learning, and I'll be acting as your host and moderator for today's session. I'll be monitoring the question box and answering any questions. In fact, one's just come through. Is it possible to have a recording of the webinar? Yes, we are recording this as we speak, and we'll make the link available to anybody who wants that. And I think we'll also make it available on the website as well. Also, we're delighted today to have with us Euan from Santander, who's a digital and innovation specialist and also a Gomo user. And he's going to be sharing a lot of his experiences about the issues facing them in the banking sector in Santander. And also with us is Mike Alcock, my colleague, the Managing Director of Gomo Learning, who's going to be discussing some of the key aspects of Gomo and also talking to Euan about how he overcame the challenges that he's been facing. So I can't see any other questions coming through, so Mike, I'll hand over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Hugh. Just checking you can hear me there okay? Hugh?
Yeah, I think we can hear you fine, Mike. Thanks.
Fantastic. All right. Well, thank you for the introduction. We'll make a start. A few more people coming in, but we need to get going. So before we start on the formal presentation, I just wanted to give you a quick introduction to Gomo. I know there's a lot of new faces on this webinar this afternoon. You may not have heard of Gomo before or maybe not be familiar with us or what we do. So just a quick slide to introduce Gomo as a business. We believe we're the world's leading cloud-based responsive HTML5 e-learning authoring tool. We also offer integrated hosting and analytics, so it's a complete learning solution for content creation and delivery of learning content, both online and offline. Who uses Gomo? Well, there's Santander, who are going to be talking today, but you can see also that a lot of global organizations choose Gomo. You can see the logos on the screen there. You don't have to be a global organization to be using Gomo. There's lots of smaller businesses and 1- and 2-person e-learning companies, but Gomo really does solve the problems that are faced by global organizations. We've won lots of awards, and the analyst view of Gomo is very strong at the moment. So in December of last year, we got Brandon Hall Gold for Best Advance in Content Authoring Technology. Craig Weiss there, who's once again for the second year in succession been ranked the most influential person in e-learning in the world, rates us as the #1 authoring tool in the world. And Fosway, who are Europe's leading independent HR analyst, have us as the leading core challenger in the authoring tools space. We are part of a bigger group. We're part of Learning Technologies Group. So alongside us, it's a variety of other learning businesses. Leo, they're one of the world's biggest Gomo users. They are one of Europe's largest e-learning production houses, produce the majority of their content in Gomo. We have Uclea Training, who are a financial services e-learning company, providing a lot of off-the-shelf content to a financial services organization, also now delivering in Gomo. Preloaded is a games with purpose company. And Rustici Software, which is probably the most interesting from a sort of authoring tools perspective. Rustici, the organization that look after e-learning standards like SCORM and XAPI. And a big chunk of their technology stack, now that we've acquired them, is making its way into the Gomo products, and you'll see more of that over the next few months as we start to integrate their technologies into Gomo. So enough about Gomo, let's move on, and I'll introduce Euan from Santander. And Euan's going to start this part of the presentation by talking about some of the challenges that he sees the financial services sector facing in terms of e-learning and also learning and development challenges within the banking industry. So Euan, if it's okay, I'll hand over to you.
Thank you very much, Mike. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can, yes.
Perfect. Well, first off, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Mike and Hugh, for the invitation to speak to you today. Not to start on a negative, I guess working in the banking industry came with somewhat of a stigma a few years ago We were always in the news. I say we, the banking industry in general was always in the news in terms of poor customer service, job losses, PPI claims always seems to be around. I think over the last few years we've all worked hard to try and shake that stigma. And it's still work to do, but we're making good headway, and I think we're beginning to be perceived in a different light. You mentioned challenges there, Mike, in terms of e-learning and learning and development. You're not wrong. There certainly are a few. The biggest challenge, and I guess it's not specific just to the banking sector. I guess it's across the board from an L&D function perspective. I guess continuing to prove that the learning and development department adds strategy, adds value, kind of proving their worth always seems to creep up now and again. One of the big things for us certainly is engaging learners. So not just within the workplace, how do we create engaging content that learners will want to interact with outside of the organisation? So when they're on a train commuting, when they're at home in their own time, and they want to pick up a device to do some learning that's related to work, that's quite a difficult nut to crack, and I'm not sure if anyone's quite there yet. We've also got to adapt to technology. I guess within the banking sector, I can't account for any other ones. IT and infrastructure tend to be a little bit more rigid, so the likes of mobile responsive content, where that might be new to some organisations in the banking centre, I think we're certainly one of them. It's probably, in reality, if you put it into perspective of real world, we're probably 3, 4, 5 years behind on that curve. So it's how do we get the jump on that and adapt to technology and use things like tin can API. So in terms of challenges, there are quite a few, and I guess those are 2 or 3 of the most prominent ones that I see from an L&D function, both with and without, in and outside of the banking sector. Could you possibly flick to the next slide, if you don't mind?
Yep.
So just to give a little bit of a background to Santander as a whole, we are a Spanish company, so our head office is based in Madrid. We are one of the largest banks in the Eurozone in terms of market capital. Worldwide, we've got close to 200,000 staff. I think we're just under that at the last count. And those staff service 121 million customers, predominantly in Europe, South America, very big in Brazil, and North America. We do have other offices in the Far East, but predominantly it's Europe and South America in terms of customer base. As far as the UK is concerned, we are an amalgamation of 3 businesses. We started as Abbey National in the UK. We acquired the Bradford and Bingley Savings and Mortgage Book, I believe. And then we acquired Alliance and Leicester, ultimately rebranding to Santander UK in, I think it was May of 2010, to be a single entity. And we are one of the biggest profit contributors to the entire group. In terms of UK structure specific, again, those of you from a banking industry are probably very, very similar. We've got a retail banking arm. So our branch network of over 1,000 branches, our call centres. We also have a corporate and commercial banking centres, which we have roughly about 50 spread over the UK. All of those people help service our 14 million customers, and we've got just, I think we were 8 shy of 20,000 staff at the last count. The others we haven't mentioned, we've got a lot of head office functions, your audit, your HR, where typical learning and development sits. So we're pretty well structured and pretty similar, I think, to most, but we've got certainly a solid background and solid support in terms of group wide. So that's pretty much us from a UK and group perspective.
Okay.
So a bit of a background to us in terms of training and learning and development. It's probably best to start maybe 12 to 18 months ago. We are in a very different place now, and we've gone through quite a significant journey, and we're beginning to start reaping the benefits of that. So 12 to 18 months ago, we were a learning function with a reasonable headcount, structured, a lot of relationship managers who faced off to certain business areas. They did the training needs analysis. In general, they would pick the correct learning intervention, whether it's a face-to-face course, whether it's a good old-fashioned workbook, whether it's some e-learning, some distance learning. That would feed into a very small technical team of people. When I say small, I mean 2 people. They would author the e-learning, they would produce some of our videos for us, use the typical tools, Articulate Storyline, and actually the full Articulate Studio suite, ACIMA, ATS for simulations, and Lectora, the usual standard bearers of authoring tools. We delivered all of our content, so workbooks and distance learning, from a custom-built platform, which was built in good old SharePoint 2007, I think it was. So we basically broke SharePoint and rebuilt it back up to build our own platform. By no means an LMS, provided no tracking, or very little tracking. I guess now that was probably, that platform landed 3, maybe 4 years ago, so it served its purpose. We didn't have any access to content outside of our internal network, so you had to be either a location or logged in through your laptop to be able to access any of our learning. We did have an LMS. We had an old school Saba LMS, which we currently still have at the moment. That was only ever used for your regulatory assessments, so it provided the tracking and all the audit points. No other content really was designed for our LMS. New World, probably a year ago now, we went through somewhat of a restructure, a redefining of roles. So the relationship managers morphed into a more of a consultancy role, but with that role came the design, the development, the creation, the hands-on production of content. So our technical team suddenly fizzled out, and all this authoring nightmare for some of our consultants suddenly landed within their remit. So again, that poses no end. So too many authoring tools, a lot of new people to it, could potentially be a bit of a nightmare. We also have a welcome addition of roughly 9,000 to 10,000 Apple devices have been deployed into the bank over the last 12 months. So that opens up a whole new avenue of content deployment and development. So that's where we are now, and I guess the need for the authoring tool was born from the too many that we've got just now, needing something simple, straightforward for people to use who maybe have never used an authoring tool before, and Gomo was the preferred tool for us.
Fantastic, thank you, Euan. I'll hand over to Hugh now for question time.
Yeah, thank you, Mike and Euan. Yeah, we're just going to take a short pause here because I'm sure that everything that Euan's been saying there is probably resonating with you all on the webinar. And just wanted to throw open the questions here, really, for you to be able to share your experience, just using the question box in your GoToWebinar panel about, for example, do you currently have a bring your own device policy? That is your company actually already delivering e-learning via mobile devices? Is it something that you're planning to do? What sort of timescales, and what do you see as being the issues within your own organisations? It'd just be interesting to be able to hear your experiences and to be able to share that with other people on the webinar. So please just feel free to put your thoughts into the question box. We'll see it coming through here. So that's interesting. We've got a few comments coming through here. And yeah, the kind of thing that people are saying here is that really that they're now, we can see that people are saying, yep, that they're planning on going mobile, but that they're not quite ready to go there. Some people are saying they're concerned about the security implications due to the very tight security restrictions there. And yeah, another comment here from Laura saying that yes, the Santander story resonates. A similar story where I work over the last few years as things we're currently trying to solve for mobile. Users aren't really using it though, at least for e-learning. our LMS doesn't do a great job supporting it. Yeah, and I suppose, Laura, yeah, that can be one of the issues, that you might have wonderful mobile content, but if people can't actually access that through their LMS, if they've got no way of actually getting to that, then that's a real barrier as well. Okay, yeah, and yeah, Euan, thank you. It seems as if that really is resonating with people. It's really good to hear those real world challenges that you've been addressing.
It's nice to know others feel the pain that we do.
Well, do keep your thoughts and questions coming as we move on to the next part of the presentation, and I'll be feeding back more later as we go on. So thanks. Back over to you, Mike.
Yep, thanks, Hugh. So, Euan, from your perspective, what problem were you trying to address by using Gomo?
I guess I've alluded to it slightly there. So we were in the situation where we had more than a dozen consultants now, some with a varying degree of, let's just broadly say, technology. Some could use it, some couldn't. Some were more than willing to actually most, if not all, were more than willing to adapt. But there was no history of using authoring tools, so we needed something that was very simple to use, that also provided, if used the right way, engaging content. The new LMS, I've alluded to say, we are just about to deploy a new LMS which will give us that utopia of external and mobile access. So I think when we started using Gomo, we heard rumblings that we were getting a new LMS and this is what it would be. So we kind of rolled the dice and took a bit of a gamble that do we go headlong into mobile deployment, knowing that we're going to have a platform eventually. So the mobile responsive, a true mobile responsive, doesn't shrink down to your screen properly, stacks, was a big problem because we didn't have anything that did that before. I guess when you throw a number of designers, not just internal, we do use some external designers. We want to bring a consistent look and feel, not exactly the same look and feel, but brand elements throughout it. So those were the main issues: mobile responsive, a consistent approach to brand, and just engaging, simple to use content would probably be the top 3 or 4 there.
Fantastic. I think you've probably answered some of the other questions in there that I've got lined up, so we'll move it forward. I think Hugh's going to do another few questions, and then we'll start looking at some of the content.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Yeah, just another pause, again, a chance for you to feedback your experiences here. Again, that particularly what your experiences of being able to get buy-ins at board level in regards to L&D. How many bits of software do you find that you're having to use just to be able to create your learning content? And what are your thoughts about how you might actually streamline the process? And yeah, we've got some questions coming through here. Thomas is asking one for Euan here. How important was having a solution that was cloud-based? How important was that in terms of your decision to go with Gomo?
Good question. It wouldn't be the be-all and end-all, but it has really it's really simplified our process. So I'm not stealing the thunder from some of Gomo features, because it is cloud-based. It makes sharing content with sign-off parties and things very much easier. We don't deploy our content via the Gomo platform. We did trial it, so what we publish and then we pull down and put on an internal server at the moment. But in terms of creation, where there's maybe some laptop issues or desktop issues, because it's cloud-based, you could literally use any desktop laptop that you wanted. You weren't tied to a machine where the likes of Articulate things has to be pre-installed, and there's a bit of a fight over who gets what, and so it's had its advantages, certainly. And now using it, we probably wouldn't go back.
Right. Okay, thank you for that, Ewan. Another question here from Lee for you. Did you have to reskill a design team, or do you outsource out development?
We did have to reskill. I guess in some instances there was by self-admission, quite a large knowledge gap. Again, from me as well. So there was a lot of late nights, just trying to get your head around things, and it's just not because it's difficult, but you just want to see sort of every iteration of how things will happen if you flick X off and you move Y to this position. What will happen? And if I'm honest, the feedback I get from our designers is it can be quite addictive when they get going. You power through till well after 5 most instances, because they like to see the outputs quickly, and you get that with Gomo. So long and short, there was a redesign. There was quite a steep learning curve for most, including myself.
Right, because that was one of the questions from Thomas as well about the learning curve. And Francis is raising a question here about what type of content are you using at Santander? Video, gamification, PDF? Are they just compliance, or are you doing sales and other soft skills?
Go in terms of what we use in Gomo for, or other things that we use.
Well, I suppose this is in the broader sense. Yeah.
Yeah, we do. We've done pretty much everything. We've fully embraced things like 3D immersive games with branching logic, leaderboards, and all that sort of thing. We were very heavily PDF based. There's probably an argument to say we still are a little bit, but we're beginning to really move away from it. I mean, PDF for me is nice if you want to print it, but I guess I can't remember the last time I printed a document personally. And PDFs aren't brilliant on a mobile phone. The pinch and zoom is not a massively user-friendly experience, but we have them. I guess there's a strong group of people who really like their old school workbooks, and we don't want to take that away from them. Video content, we've really embraced Gomo. MP4s fit really nicely into Gomo. So I mean, we've all that face-to-camera shots, interviews. We've got some equipment based strategically around the UK, so there's not a lot of travel to get it. We use things like telestrations as well. So we've pretty much dabbled and embraced quite a lot of the learning interventions, and we continue to do so. It goes back to the technology comment I made earlier. We should be on par with what we can do outside of work. And I know IT and security restrictions make that difficult, but not impossible.
Right, great. Thank you very much, Euan. I believe that during the course of the webinar, we're going to at least get a glimpse of a couple of the courses that you've developed in Gomo as well.
Yeah, it's probably just worth saying before we look at them, and I guess this goes back to, I can't remember whether it was the lady that had the comment about using e-learning on phones. I certainly wouldn't, personally, and I wouldn't expect anyone else to do a typical 30 to 40-minute e-learning course on the phone. That it doesn't quite compute that way. What we've tried to do is really break down our content into manageable, from 30-second chunks to 5 minutes. And if it's a case of we use multiple of those, then I think that's acceptable, rather than asking someone to sit and do a full compliance e-learning on a phone. So I think some of the ones you'll see are typically, I think, range from about 30 seconds to maybe 5 or 6 minutes or 7 minutes at best. And if we can keep to that, that's a sort of ballpark we try and keep it into, and we'll break it down even further.
Great, right. Thank you very much, Euan. Please do keep your questions and your thoughts coming through the question box. We'll be picking them up again a bit later. But for now, back over to you, Mike.
Yep, okay, so we're moving into the solution now. We'll be seeing some sample courses shortly, but just like to ask Euan a few questions about how he got to where he is with Gomo. So first of all, Euan, how did you hear about Gomo?
Well, our Christmas time is usually February, March, which is the learning exhibition, learning technologies. That's the one. Sorry, learning technologies exhibition in London. I think we first came across you guys there. I think it must be two years ago now. So
Fantastic.
quite a good presence there.
Yeah, glad to hear that's working for us. And did you trial the authoring tool?
We most certainly did. I guess in the spirit of honesty, I tried the 30-day trial, and I probably put it down for a little while, and then forced myself to come back to it because I hadn't. I guess I hadn't looked at any of the support available, and I was going around in circles a little bit. But once I finally forced myself to sit down and talk to you guys about it and get some pointers, it all suddenly fell into place. So that trial was well used towards the end.
Sounds very familiar. And which features were particularly important for you to solve the challenges compared to the previous tools that you've mentioned before already?
I think it goes back to the simplicity, and I don't want to undersell how easy it is to use when you've got some guidance. So I guess the simplicity of content creation. A couple of other little bits suddenly became really nice features, but weren't part of the sort of original choice to buy. And the sharing of content, which I've mentioned, so we don't have to publish and then get ourselves tied over in version control. That was a nice little one. And you've got the powers for you whether you switch that on and off. And I guess speed to publish as well. So there's I guess those of you who want to try Gomu, you'll be able to see quite quickly you can duplicate original courses that have already been created by yourself. So if someone in working collaboratively, so if one of our designers made a particular course that had a nice look and feel to it, another designer could duplicate that and change the content but still maintaining the look and feel, which helps to getting it on the shelf quite quickly. And again, this is the whole collaboration. So if you wanted someone to work on a project, if you were off for whatever reason, because it's cloud-based and you see everyone else's content, it's a really nice feature to have.
Fantastic. And how does all this tie in with Santander's business values?
Anyone in the UK, and probably wider, the sort of mantra for Santander, and it's a public mantra, is simple, personal, and fair, and it holds true internally as well. I guess the main one that jumps out is the simple side of things, being relatively straightforward to use, and again, you guys are great from a support point of view. I guess when you start to put it on an LMS and personalize it, you can drill down to making that learning experience personal with Gomo content. So I guess the simple personal, not quite sure how fair it is because we've got to pay for it, but it's certainly simple and personal.
I think that's only fair, really. Okay, I had a few more questions, Euan, but I'm looking at the clock and realising that we're already at half an hour. So I think what we'll do is move forward now and look at what Santander have been doing with the course. So we've put a couple of these examples of content. So perhaps I'll fire up Bitesized Learning first, and you could talk us through that one, Euan.
Yeah, this was one of our very first. So I guess it's probably worth noting as well, one of the biggest things that really helped us was so you see the Santander logo at the top and the reds and everything. That's a Santander specific theme that we purchased from Gomo. So we commissioned that build, and it brought that consistency and brand. So some of the fonts you see there some are commonplace, some aren't so common. Working with you guys, getting that template up there really helped bring the consistent approach in. And this was one of our meant to be, it's called Bitesize, take 2 or 3 minutes during lunchtime, ideally on your phone as well. Just very simple and straightforward like that, where we also link to a PDF version if you're one of those ones who really have got a burning desire to print it. You've got that option there. So it kind of fits the bill for everyone, but the template was a real turning point for us.
Fantastic. And we'll just have a quick look at mentoring, which is the other one you mentioned we could show today, so thank you for that.
I guess the caveat with some of these as well, we're by trade and none of us are instructional designers. So I know if we were to commission this to a third-party e-learning house, they would, I guess, provide a much more polished piece with proper instructional design in there. I think we're working through it. We're getting there. But for a team of non-instructional designers who maybe are not the most tech savvy, and some would happily agree with that. I think what we produce is pretty good.
Yes, I'd say so. Actually, I think this looks very, very polished and professional. So yes, thank you for that. Fabulous. Okay, so back onto the next slide. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Gomo now. This Gomo is a tool, and Gomo, as I said at the beginning, is a complete learning suite. It's a cloud-based solution, as Euan's mentioned, which makes collaboration and working together as a team from anywhere in the world very easily. This architecture diagram shows you the entire Gomo learning suite. Everything on the left of the diagram is the authoring tool, and on the right hand side is the hosting and analytics piece. So I'll very quickly go around this, and as a digital designer, as you mentioned, you can work from anywhere in the world with just a web browser. You're not tied to a single PC. You can just log in and start building content. Because Gomo is in the cloud, it's collaborative. You can work together with your colleagues on content development, and we've got content locking to make sure two people don't update the same bit of the course at the same time. There's online review built into Gomo, so no more email trails or spreadsheets. You can share a course with your peers and your stakeholders, and they can add their comments directly into the course page itself. And if you want to, you can then take the course out of Gomo, publish it as a standalone SCORM learning object, and deploy it into any SCORM LMS. However, if you take the Gomo hosting and analytics suite, you're able to publish the course across to the hosting server, and then you end up with a whole range of really interesting deployment options. First of these is Gomo Central. This is a mini learner portal. Set it up in less than about 5 minutes, brand it up with your colors and logos, allows people to log in and consume the courses directly. Hanging off that as well is the Gomo Central app, and that's in final testing now for Android and iOS, and this allows you to deliver your Gomo courses offline. So if you want to get them out to people who travel on trains and planes and are going to be disconnected from the internet, they can download the courses to their devices, play them back offline, and when they get back to the office or home, Wi-Fi or 3 or 4G, the app will ring home and transmit their learning results back to Gomo. So it's offline delivery with full XAPI analytics. If you'd like to embed a Gomo course in any web page, whether that's a SharePoint page internally or externally on a public-facing website, we can generate embed codes from Gomo and embed a course in any page instantly. We also generate direct links. So if you want to broadcast your course publicly on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, or wherever you want to broadcast it, send people an email with a link in, then you can do that. Really interesting option for our biggest corporate customers is the Gomo LMS wrapper. Rather than deploying a huge 200 megabyte course and disconnecting it from Gomo and uploading it to your LMS, which I'm sure most people have probably had to do at some point in their lives when delivering e-learning content to corporate LMSs, the first thing that usually happens is the course goes live and immediately you get a phone call saying there's a spelling mistake on page 5 and it's the wrong video on page 10. And in most authoring tools, you then go back to the authoring tool, repair the course, republish, rezip, rescore, re-FTP. With Gomo, we have a unique bit of technology called the Gomo LMS wrapper, and it's a micro file, and it points to the course that remains on the Gomo server. So you deploy this micro file to your LMS. So instead of sending your LMS 200 megabytes of content, you'll send it this Gomo LMS wrapper file, which is typically 12 or 13 kilobytes. Once that goes into the LMS, it looks like SCORM, it runs like SCORM, it tracks like SCORM. So your LMS user sees exactly what they saw before, but the content remains on the Gomo servers. And the beauty of this is if you need to update that 200 megabyte course with one spelling change, for example, all you've got to do is overwrite the course in Gomo. There's no more republish, rezip, re-FTP, rescorm, re-upload, and re-download. So dynamic content updates from Gomo. And behind all of that are Gomo's X-API Analytics dashboards. Your SCORM LMS will tell you that Mike took the course yesterday, he was in it for 2 hours, and he scored 90% in the quiz. At the same time, Gomo is also tracking that course. And it will say that Mike took the course, he scored 90%, he was on a smartphone or a tablet or whatever device, and also he got 90%, and it was question 7 that he got wrong. And it's this rich, detailed analytics that allows you to improve learning outcomes. If everybody gets question 7 wrong, maybe question 7 is the problem. Is it badly phrased? Is it the wrong video, for example? So that's the theory of how Gomo works. I will very quickly let you have a quick look at Gomo in action, and this will be a flying demo here. I'm just going to create a brand new Gomo project, and I get a quick start wizard so I can build a course from scratch. So we'll call it Thursday, and it's 1536. Choose where my resources are going to live. We support multilingual content in Gomo. I'll keep this course just in English, but if you need multilingual content, you can have it. Euan talked about themes earlier on, so there was a Santander theme built. You're looking at some of the standard Gomo themes here. The nice thing about themes is they're completely separate from content. So if you need to rebrand 100 courses, all you've got to do is update your theme. You don't necessarily have to update 100 courses because the look and feel is controlled by the theme. And we've built themes for people like Dunhill, Bayer, Nike, Burberry, British Airways, Volvo, Santander, there's their themes, Medline, Granger, Federal Reserve Bank. So you can see here all the organisations, Accenture, that are using Gomo today, and they've got custom themes, and these are great for guaranteeing design consistency and also ease of update of your content. Next, build the course structure. So I'll have a menu, 3 topics, a help, a glossary, and maybe an exit button. And then finally, I can choose which of my colleagues is going to work on this project with me. So because Gomo is a cloud-based application, I'm not stuck on my PC working on my own, as I might be with a desktop tool, building a course on my own that nobody else can see until I've FTP'd it or published it somewhere to the internet. We can work together on our courses as a team. And you've got a range of permissions in Gomo. You can see most of the people on the screen here are administrators, but you've also got editors and reviewers. So you can choose who sees what and what permissions they've got when they build their courses. So again, you can make sure that the right people see the right information. There's that course that's just been built. You see the course structure here. I've got the menu, 3 topics, on all of the resources and extras that I requested. And then clicking on a topic opens up the main authoring window. And this is where you spend most of your time in Gomo when you're building out content. And because of the limited time, I'm going to fly through this. So we'll just make a welcome to Gomo screen. Here's the list of screens on the right-hand side. We'll delete screen 2 because we don't need that one. I'll delete this text block on the right, and we'll replace that with a graphic. Oops. So we'll just bring in the image placeholder. Double click, I can have a list or a thumbnail view of my image library as required. I'll go for the thumbnail view, we'll grab the Gomo Learning logo, and I'll align that to the right-hand side of the page. So what you're looking at here in the middle of the page is my preview window, and you can see that the content block I'm working on is a 2-column layout. We support up to 4 columns in Gomo, and this is how we get the responsive behavior. So I only have to build a course once, and Gomo will automatically make it responsive. So on a desktop and a tablet computer, these two will sit next to each other. On a smartphone, Gomo will drop the right-hand content block below the left-hand content block. Let's add a second screen. I'm going to build one from a template. Templates let me build up really quite complex screens very quickly. It will provide all the items I need for a hotspot image page in this case. So I'll just do a page about our offices. We'll choose the image that we're going to have on this particular page, and I'll go and grab that world map there. And then because this is image, Gomo automatically made me 3 subscreens where I can reveal information to the student. So I'll make the first one about the Brighton office. We'll drop in an image of Brighton just for a bit of visual interest. I'll just do one hotspot in this case. And then if I go back to the main screen here, double click, and we'll stick a hotspot over the UK, which will be for Brighton. One over the US. If I've got time, I'll drop in the New York office. And then if I look at the action associated with that one, it's showing the first subscreen. That's what I want it to do. But we could open a web page, link to a PDF, send an email, play some audio, set the language, set a variable, set completion. So there's a load of power under the hood here to make these courses as interactive and non-linear as we might want them to be. I'll just do the New York page. We're a bit short of time, so I won't bother dropping a quiz in, but I'm sure you'll be aware that we can do that sort of thing as well. So we'll just drop an image of Manhattan onto this page here. If any of you have got your smartphones or tablets handy, get them out now. If you've got a QR code reader on there, fire it up, because this course can jump onto your phone or tablet in about 30 seconds time. And let's just animate New York, so we'll have it fading in, and we'll set the duration here, so say 5 seconds, and I'll make this particular screen type a pop-up screen like so. Save those changes. And then one of the really nice features of Gomo is the ability to preview your courses across all the different devices inside a web browser. So we've got a full multi-device previewer inside the web browser. So as you're developing your courses, you can check out how they look. Obviously, you've got a pseudo preview inside the authoring environment here, but if I choose to share this project now, I'll switch sharing on. And don't worry, I'll bring the QR code back in a moment and preview this project. The first preview view we get is the desktop view. So this is how this course will look on a desktop. I started it at 1536, it's 1543, so it's taken me 7 minutes. There's my Welcome to Gomo screen. There's my interactive world map, and if I click on the UK we get Brighton, and on the US we get Manhattan fading in. That's the desktop view. On a tablet, such as an iPad, it will look like this. So I can go back to the menu. I've got an automatically generated table of contents, and we can go and have a look at that course again. And then on a smartphone, and this is how Euan's using it down to his 10,000 iPhones, you can see it's fully smartphone ready. All of the buttons are big enough to hit with my fingers. Down at the bottom here we've got icons instead of text because it knows we're on a smartphone. If I turn the phone around in my hand, it will jump from landscape to portrait. We're not forcing people to tip phones over on their side. And if any of you have got a QR code reader, if you point it at that QR code there, that course that I just built in less than 10 minutes will jump onto your smartphone or tablet, and it will fill the screen, whatever the screen size, whatever the orientation. At no point did I have to have a look at telling it it's an iPhone 6 or an iPhone 5 or a 5S or whatever. Gomo will automatically figure it out. Any device, any screen size, any orientation. So that's the flying run through of Gomo. There's lots more to it than that, but we're on limited time this afternoon. But let's move on now to talk about the results. So, Euan, what was the result? What have been the results from your learning strategy, and how was the new tool and processes received by your staff?
I think I'll start off with your second question. I think it's been extremely well received. Now, I look at it from 2 points. So the staff, for me, would be your designers and how they've picked it up. Again, extremely positive feedback from them. I guess speed to competence is far less. So amount of downtime from doing other tasks. I guess you can amalgamate that into a cost saving. In terms of end users and business stakeholders who who look after certain areas in the bank. Really positive. So I guess there's a degree of why haven't we had this years ago, going back to the original point about IT infrastructure. Very, very well received. I guess there's no negatives, genuinely no negatives spring to mind about how it's been received. So really positive so far.
Fantastic. I think just to back some of that up, we've got some of the quotes that you gave us, Euan, which are fantastic. Could you just give us an idea of where these came from within the business?
Yeah, so the one top left for correspondence banking and sanctions was from a business contact who worked with one of our consultants to deploy the training for their business area. In terms of stakeholder feedback, phenomenal. The one bang in the middle, personally I found that was one of our external contractors who we bring in now and again, reasonably tech savvy, but picked it up straight away, and a lot of I think the other ones are from end users. So just random. Well, I say random. We capture some of this information on SurveyMonkey and SurveyGizmo. So a lot of it's done anonymously, so we can get as much honesty as we can. So sticking names to them can be a bit difficult.
Understood. Thank you for that. And we're coming up to the last few minutes of the presentation. So, Hugh, over to you again.
Okay, thank you, Mike, and certainly thank you very much, Euan. I'm sure that that's been stimulating a lot of ideas and thoughts, particularly about how the technology can actually address real-life problems. It's been very interesting to hear that. So I know that we've had quite a few questions coming through, so I'm just going to pose some of these to Euan. And but in the meantime, please do keep those questions coming through. We still have a few minutes left, so if you've been dying to ask something, now's your chance. So, Euan, a question here from Lee. Do you have multiple designers working on one module at a time in the authoring tool, or do they work on one each?
I think for the most part it's one each. So we distribute licenses where needed. We do have a couple of projects where we've got I think 2 or 3 designers. So a couple will be doing some Gomo, some will be doing sort of the wordsmith side of things, and some will be creating video and things. So there are ones where multiple people do work on the same Gomo project. As long as you're not within the exact same screen to edit, you can work on different parts of each of the projects. So it works quite well that way.
Thank you. And yeah, a few people asking about whether the recording is going to be available. Yes, it will be. We'll make it available on the gomolearning.com website. And also, I think that you'll be emailed out a link once the video has been processed. And just some other questions coming through here as well. A lot of interest in the whole idea of the theming and the whole branding through the Gomo themes. And so, Euan, what do you see as being the main benefit for you in terms of getting that exact custom theme? Because obviously you can do a lot within the Gomo built-in theme editor.
Yeah, I guess it takes some of the headache away from some of the guys who are new to this, so they don't have to worry about what hexadecimal color is Santander red, for example. That can all be plugged in to the back end, and I guess with the word of warning, they can effectively go into the back end and change it if they're confident. But I guess that's the message that we go out with is don't change that, and it brings that consistent approach. Definitely one of the best things that we did was contact Leo Learning to help create that template, and when they delivered it in such a way that they gave us some ideas within a Gomo package, which really helped prompt different ways of using Gomo as well. So it wasn't just a theme; we got different ideas and how to purpose content and how to actually represent it with Gomo. So I can't say any more good things about the theming of it.
Right, and that sort of template course, that was an actual Gomo course that was put together to illustrate all the different types of interactions.
Yes,
and so on.
yes.
Okay, great, thank you. And let's see, a question here. Can Gomo create simulations for system training? Mike, would you like to address that?
Yeah, we don't have a recording tool within Gomo. We are considering it at the moment, but it's quite a big task to build that kind of thing. But we do have customers that are using Gomo to deliver software simulations. So quite often they will do the screen captures in another product. So Camtasia is very popular for that kind of thing. People also use Captivate, that's got a screen capture capability. But they'll then embed those captured sequences either as videos or as interactive sequences through the Gomo iframe asset and deliver the rest of the sort of placeholder around those bits of content in Gomo. Because they like Gomo, they like the player, they like the way it's responsive and adaptive, and it fills the screen on all the devices and so on. So Gomo handles all of that for them, and then all they do is drop the screen captures in. So that's how people are doing it today. We are, as we speak, mulling over and considering whether we build our own screen capture capability.
Can you mull a little faster? Because I would quite like.
All right, I'll mull very hard there, Euan.
Just a couple more questions to finish off here. Martin's asking, can the playbar navigation look and feel be customized or replaced? So essentially the theming again, yeah, I suppose. Mike,
yes, it can, absolutely. And in fact, I've just seen, so I mean, obviously the general, the header bars and the footer bars, they're fully customizable. A lot of it can be done by end users. We can also do them as part of a custom Gomo theme. I think the one we're looking at now on the screen, Hugh, is the standard Gomo theme, isn't it? With
yes.
that Twitter handle and the Gomo logo were just built into the background, but they can be configured much more seriously than that by ourselves. If it's the play bar in terms of video players, I've seen one, I don't know if you've seen it, Hugh, was done for beta formats only, and they've got a custom video play bar that doesn't let you scrub forward or backwards through the video, so yes, those sorts of things can be done as well.
Right, thanks, Mike. And just finally, a question from Lee about, can you share a Gomo course with other Gomo authors in other organizations?
Yes, there's a number of ways of doing that. So a lot of our bigger customers, people like, say, Volvo, for example, they'll have a team of authors within their organization working in a central Volvo account, and they will invite in third-party organizations like Leo or other e-learning content houses to also create courses for them. So they can either do that in the same account, so they can give access to external staff in their account and just share the appropriate courses with them. Or the alternative is we've just developed our new course transfer capability. So it's possible for people to develop in an external account, and then we can grab the course from their account and drop it into Santander or Volvo's account as appropriate. So there's a number of ways of doing that.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Well, I think that we're rather running out of time for further questions, but do feel free as well just to email us if you have further questions at support@gomolearning.com, anything that we can help you with about Gomo. And Mike, back over to you to wrap up.
Indeed. So that's everything we'd planned to cover today. It's 5 minutes to the top of the hour, so we've just about managed to cram it in. We did have to rush a few bits, apologies, but I think it was worth spending a little bit more time with Euan on his experiences and so on. I'm sure that's what most people wanted to get out of today. So it remains for me to say thank you, Euan, for taking the time, not just today, of course, to work with us on this presentation, but all of the preparation and all of your help and input. It's greatly appreciated.
Very welcome, thank you.
And a pleasure working with you as always, and long may it continue. I'd like to thank Hugh for moderating and looking after the webinar, answering all the questions and answers, and basically making sure everything runs smoothly. I think Tilly and Claire are on, they've done a lot of work in the background, so I have to say thank you to them as well. If you do want to get in touch with us after this webinar, then you can see my contact details are on the screen. I think you've all had emails from me inviting you to this webinar, but I'm Mike Alcock at gomolearning.com. If you have any questions for Euan, You can again send them to me, and I'll forward those on to you and put you direct with you, and if you'd like to do that. Euan, we decided not to put your email on here just in case you got hundreds of emails after this call.
Yeah, a little bit hurt by that, but never mind.
But I'll make sure anything of interest comes winging its way to you. And of course, you can find out all about Gomo Learning at the Gomo Learning website, gomolearning.com, and you can, of course, sign up for our 21-day free trial directly from the homepage of the website. So it just remains for me to thank everybody that was involved today. Thank you especially to all of the audience for taking an hour out of your day. We hope to see you on the Gomo website, hope to see you via email, and of course we would love to have you as a Gomo customer at some point in the future. So once again, thank you everybody, and goodbye, good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you are in the world, and thanks very much.
Thank you.
Cheers, bye.
Thank you, everyone.